SpaceX just did something most companies would never dare. Borrowed $25 billion less than 2 weeks after going public. 13 days. That's not hesitation, that's decisiveness. Think of it like getting a promotion at work and immediately leveraging that credibility to take out a massive mortgage. This debt sale signals something profound. SpaceX isn't just confident, they are all in. This isn't about plugging a financial gap, it's about acceleration. They know exactly what they want to build, and they want to build it fast. Here's what makes this wild. In the old days, space exploration was government-only territory. It took decades and hundreds of billions in taxpayer funding. Today, a private company can raise billions in capital in weeks because investors believe in the vision. SpaceX proved they could do what governments said was impossible: land a rocket, reuse it, fly it again. Now they're betting their entire company on something even bigger. This $25 billion in debt is a tell. It reveals something crucial about where money and ambition are flowing in 2026. It's not about stability anymore. It's about who dares to bet everything on the future. And SpaceX just put down a colossal bet that'll reshape the space industry. Until recently, SpaceX was completely private. Elon owned the bulk of it. Early employees, venture capitalists, and a handful of billionaires own the rest. But private companies, no matter how brilliant, eventually exhaust their funding. They need more capital than any single person can provide. So SpaceX did something historic. They went public. An IPO, initial public offering, is when a private company sells shares to the world. Suddenly, millions of ordinary people could own a piece of SpaceX. That IPO probably raised somewhere between $5 and $10 billion or more. Enormous. But here's the crucial insight. An IPO isn't just about cash, it's about credibility. The global market is essentially voting. We believe in this company. We think it's stable, real, and it'll grow. The moment that stamp of approval locks in, something magical happens. Banks queue up wanting to lend. They see a company with public credibility and an opportunity to earn interest. So SpaceX made their next move. They walked into debt markets and borrowed $25 billion. It's ruthless financial strategy, and it only works if everyone truly believes you're going to succeed. Here's where the real story starts. SpaceX didn't just want this money, they needed it to accelerate everything simultaneously. This is where people get confused. If SpaceX just raised billions from their IPO, why borrow even more? The answer is, what you're building determines how you fund it. Big infrastructure projects take years and massive upfront capital. Starship development needs billions. Building out Starlink's global satellite network costs billions more. You need money available now, not gradually. Here's where debt beats equity. Equity sales take time. You have roadshows. Convince investors, file regulatory paperwork, and deal with dilution. Debt is faster. You call a bank, agree on terms, and money arrives in weeks. Plus, debt is tax-deductible. Interest SpaceX pays comes straight off their tax bill. Equity doesn't work that way. You're giving away a permanent piece of future profits. Another crucial thing, debt doesn't dilute Elon's ownership. When you sell equity, you hand away voting power and future upside. Debt is a clean transaction. You borrow, you pay interest, you keep control. The calculus is simple. If you're confident you'll generate enough cash flow to repay debt, borrowing is smarter than selling equity. SpaceX proved they can do this. They've landed rockets hundreds of times. Starlink already generates billions in revenue from customers worldwide. They're not borrowing blind. They're borrowing against a tested, validated business model. That confidence is worth billions. So what's SpaceX building with $25 billion plus IPO capital? 3 massive bets. First, Starship. This is their next-generation rocket, fully reusable and designed to be even cheaper than Falcon 9. Starship is the vehicle taking humans to the moon and eventually Mars. Getting Starship fully operational and flying regularly will consume billions. Second, Starlink expansion. Starlink is already the world's biggest satellite internet constellation, thousands of satellites in orbit providing internet to remote areas worldwide. But there's enormous upside. More satellites mean better coverage, lower latency, more customers globally. Third, infrastructure. SpaceX needs launch facilities, manufacturing plants, testing grounds. They're building multiple launch pads around the world. Each costs hundreds of millions. So when Elon says Mars, he means it literally. SpaceX will use this capital to build the actual infrastructure needed for interplanetary missions. This isn't theoretical. It's happening now. That's why $25 billion isn't excessive. It's justified by the scale of ambition. This is where it gets interesting. No space company has ever had this much capital to execute this fast. How does SpaceX's move compare to other aerospace and tech companies? Context matters enormously. Traditional aerospace companies like Boeing or Lockheed Martin carry similar debt levels, but they've spent 50 years building it up. SpaceX just went public weeks ago and borrowed $25 billion. That's unprecedented aggression in the aerospace world. In the tech sector, it's different. Amazon, Google, Meta all carry substantial debt. Amazon alone has $130 billion in debt, but Amazon generates $500 billion in annual revenue, so their debt-to-revenue ratio is manageable. SpaceX is different. They're much smaller by revenue, but taking on debt at an aerospace scale level. That's bold. The question investors ask, can SpaceX grow fast enough that this debt becomes manageable? History suggests yes. SpaceX hit every major milestone. First orbital launch, first reusable rocket, first private docking with the ISS, first private space station mission. They execute. But $25 billion is a new scale. It's betting Starship works, Starlink revenue explodes, and the space economy booms over 5 years. That's aggressive. That's not guaranteed. But wait, there's something nobody's talking about. SpaceX isn't operating in isolation. Other companies are watching this move very carefully. Here's what SpaceX's debt raise signals to the world. The space industry is booming, and there's real money to be made. China's building competing satellite constellations. Amazon's Kuiper project is launching internet satellites. Blue Origin, despite lacking heavy-lift rockets yet, has Jeff Bezos' backing. The space economy isn't theoretical anymore. It's real. It generates revenue. And it's attracting capital at scales never seen before. SpaceX's $25 billion sends a message. This industry is ready for serious investment. Other companies will follow. Blue Origin will seek public capital. New space startups will find investors more willing to back them. The whole space industry accelerates, more competitive, more funded, faster. What does that mean for humans? Mars is coming sooner than people realize. Not next year, but within 10 to 15 years, totally plausible. Satellite internet becomes ubiquitous, even in places governments never bothered to build infrastructure. More jobs, more innovation, more competition pushing costs down, but SpaceX has to deliver. This debt isn't free money, it comes with interest. SpaceX has to hit their targets or face serious consequences. Here's the part most people overlook entirely. How much pressure this debt creates for SpaceX to succeed, and how that pressure will accelerate the entire industry. Let's break down financing basics so you understand what's actually happening. There are 3 ways companies get capital: cash flow, equity, and debt. Cash flow is when you sell products and customers pay you. Money stays with the company, clean. Equity is when you sell a piece of ownership. Someone gives you $1 billion and they own a percent of your company forever. They benefit if it grows. They suffer if it shrinks. Debt is when you borrow. You get cash now, but you have to pay it back later with interest. Here's why each matters. Cash flow is slow but clean, no dilution, no obligations. Equity is fast but dilutes ownership, you're sharing future success with someone else. Debt is fast, lets you keep ownership but creates obligation, you must pay interest whether profitable or not. SpaceX chose debt because they are confident they'll be profitable. They already are, actually. Starlink generates huge revenue, but they want to accelerate past profitability to absolute dominance. Debt lets them do that without diluting Elon further. As a shareholder, if you own SpaceX stock, this debt raise is good news and risky news. Good because it shows confidence. Risky because if Starship or Starlink underperform, SpaceX could struggle to service that debt. You're along for a high-stakes ride. Here's what this whole story means. SpaceX just proved something critical about themselves and space exploration's future. They proved they're not afraid to bet big. They proved banks believe in their mission enough to lend $25 billion. They proved the space economy is real and funded. Over the next few years, watch this unfold. Starship will either succeed or fail. If it succeeds, this debt will look genius. SpaceX's valuation explodes. They pay off debt. Become unstoppable. If it fails, managing $25 billion gets much harder. But based on SpaceX's track record, betting on them is the statistically sound bet. Here's what to watch: Starship tests. Every launch, every landing, every progress update signals whether SpaceX can execute their vision. If Starship works, everything changes. Mars becomes real, deep space industry booms. SpaceX's debt becomes a masterstroke. Follow Starlink growth numbers. Watch satellite launch announcements. Pay attention to what Elon says about timelines. And remember, you're watching the foundation being built for humanity's future beyond Earth. That's not hyperbole. It's actually happening right now. This is one of the most ambitious financial bets ever made, and the next decade will tell us if it was genius or if it was hubris. Stay tuned. Follow for daily AI and space news.